All right, everyone, this is Norval Central, and I'm just going to get straight to the topic of the video today. Florida State's coaching staff is expecting a lot of official visitors coming in this weekend. But before I get started, I wanted to talk about Kyle Morlock, the tight end prospect from Shorter, a Division II school in Georgia, has committed to Florida State. Now, this is the second tight end prospect that we've had, with Jaheim Bell coming first from South Carolina, a dynamic weapon that can play anywhere on the offensive side of the ball. And then you turn around and get a Kyle Morlock, who's more of an inline blocker that kind of suits his skill set in between being a good inline blocker as well as a slot receiver and also on the outside, more so the outside because he is a 6'7", about 245-pound receiver at this point. During his shorter career, he had 57 receptions for 890 yards and 11 touchdowns. So he is very dynamic with the ball in his hands if he does get that opportunity. Just wanted to shout that out before we started today's video, but that was a massive commit for Florida State's offense, and I think they have a potential to be a top 10 offense if they are healthy. The next thing I'm going to focus on three official visitors that I think are very important to Florida State going forward there. Ventrell Cypress is a guy, a Virginia cornerback transfer that they have Florida State's highly coveted on. I thought Ohio State would be a little bit more involved, but Florida State has really taken the reins in this recruitment, going ahead and getting him on campus. He's a second team All ACC, first team All Pro Football Focus, and it's just a guy that Florida State really likes at that cornerback position. You've talked about it with Devontae Brown. It's going to probably come down to a decision between Miami and Florida State, as some reports have already indicated. Now you're looking at a guy like Cypress, who I think is an effective piece. You look at the Virginia rotation so far with him in it, the team is not looking greatest next year because Brandon Armstrong's going out. There's a couple of issues going on, and all prayers go out to the loved ones for the three players that did get killed and the other ones that were injured as well. But just looking at everything that's going on, I mean, Florida State is sitting in a good spot. It's good to have him on campus and visit. I think it's a long way from being over at this point, but just with his decision probably coming in January at some point, at least Florida State is getting him on campus, and he is kind of taking notice of that. And I hope the staff takes full advantage of this and hopefully gets him to have high interest in Florida State as he leaves this weekend. Then you also look at Hakeem Williams. I think this goes without saying because he is Florida State's five-star receiver commit. He is coming in for this official visit. He has all been all Florida State. Everybody was concerned about him going out west. He went to a concert and an NFL game. Nothing to really worry about there. But then you look at the other situations there, and I think you look at last year's recruiting cycle where Travis Hunter went to Jackson State, Kevin Coleman went to Jackson State, and then you had Devon Mortimer go to Louisville. Those were your three targets, and you struck out on all three of them. You need to secure wide receivers in this class, especially with how big the state is. And you've already got a Vandrevius Jacobs, so I think that's very important with everything going on there that you continue to develop that wide receiver room and continue to get better. I know that the Florida State wide receiver room is one of the tops in the ACC, but it is very glad that you're continuing to stack on talent because that is how you become a championship contender. And I think Hakeem Williams, after this weekend, will solidify his commitment. He'll be able to sign on the 21st and come in as an early enrollee. So that's very important to him in terms of getting on campus early and being able to get with the coaching staff and everything like that. Another guy I'm looking at, it's another wide receiver, Andy Jean, the four-star Florida commit. This is a very interesting visit coming through. As I talked about before, he is committed to the Gators, and he is a very dynamic weapon out of Miami, Florida. Can Florida State be able to sway him a week before he signs to the school that he wants to choose? And Florida has lost a little bit of commitment after the Sampson kid from the tackle that committed to Miami. I think that's a situation there where they lost out on him. A lot of people were thinking that he might go to Florida, and Florida's losing a little bit of luster with some of their recruiting classes. I know that Florida got Rod Kearney to decommit from us and go over to them. So Florida State's trying to figure out the rest of the pieces for the offensive line room. But Andy Jean, as we know, could be a serious factor in this. As some reports have come out that Goldie Lawrence is probably not going to be making a visit this weekend. That's kind of coming and kind of concerning a little bit with everything going on because you thought Goldie was pretty much committed to the class. I think he's a very talented and dynamic weapon. But can he be utilized in this offense? And does Florida State staff kind of make sure that he is a commodity for this class? That's kind of to be determined. I think you have to look at everything that's going on. I think it's a dynamic weapon that you're getting in Gene if you're able to get him on campus and being able to kind of get that efficient weapon. You look at his 21-21 stats. He had 40 receptions for 733 yards and 8 touchdowns. I mean, this is a Northwestern team that was very, very talented. They played some really, really good competition. And of course, he was very close with Ruben Bain, who decided to go over to Miami. But I do think that this is a situation where Florida State can really get their foot into the door. I'm not too sold that they can get him. I would definitely go after a Michael Mays, which is a 4-star wide receiver commit from Wake Forest. But we did not get him on campus this week, so you're kind of having to figure out what you got there. I think Andy Jean's your best spot, unless you want to wait on Gordy Lawrence to sign in potentially February. We'll kind of see how that goes. But as of right now, I think those are the 3 guys you need to focus on as we go through the official visitor weekend. And I think it's going to be a very exciting time for Florida State going through the next couple of weeks and also into early January before they start to enroll into classes and everything and get the spring semester going. But I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of the day. And as always, go Noles.